give people hope. Give people hope who are struggling with addiction, who are masking their creativity, because believe me, I know if a big creative audience is listening to this, addiction and alcohol addiction and all types of addiction, go be your fucking weird, crazy self. You don't need to have alcohol as a reason. You don't need any of these things. Like, just honestly, it's just find out who you are. And it's going to take a lot of work, but like, go be that person. We need you. The world, my goal in life is to make more and more people just like find what it is you want to do and just like go do it. The world, we honestly need people doing that. We need you. I need to see what you have to create.
This is the Ruby Hour. We're breaking into the vault of today's most brilliant minds to extract raw, actionable insights. This show is produced by Ruby Riot Creatives, the Austin, Texas video content marketing mavericks who help B2B and B2C businesses dominate through unparalleled strategic creativity. Chief Cat Herder Shelby Ring is your host. Claws out. Get ready to shred. Welcome to the rebellion.
Andrea, holy cow, you're here for the 12th time. We've made it. I was having so much fun thinking back to 2021, being at a friend's film premiere in Fort Collins, and this brunette goddess with thigh-high boots on and the coolest sunglasses I had ever seen comes romping up, and I just stopped in my tracks and was like, who is that?
Oh,
and I've just been in love with you ever since. So I am so glad that our saga of a digital friendship meets the occasional going to the film premiere you guys did in Fort Collins for Small Town Remedies.
Yeah.
Yes. So this has been a multi-year saga of me fangirling over your work, and we have wanted to do this for years. I love your content. Every time I see your latest creative project, for those of you that are listening or watching and you are seeing or hearing Andrea for the first time, this woman is the definition of a creatrix, like someone that's operating in live performance, also a filmmaker, also coming up with concepts, bringing the people around her that she needs to actually implement, and producing these beautiful works of art that, from the sound to the visuals, you're the only other woman, honestly, that I know that is operating in all of these spheres. And I love what you're up to. So I'm so glad you're here.
Oh my gosh, I appreciate that so much. And you had the same effect on me when I first met you. And I was telling my sister, and I was telling her, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was just so excited to meet you. And then following you and seeing everything that you do, it's just, yeah, it's so amazing. This is when I love social media, because we got to connect in that way and then see what each other is creating. And I'm so thankful for that. But anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Well, I know that you and I have been sending one another Grinch inspired clothing, garden inspired paraphernalia for years now, from whatever algorithm we introduced about Grinch fashion.
And then I'm like, do I send it to her again? I'm like, yes, send. I was like, oh, is this like so over? Have I overdone it? Send.
Nope. I'm going to tell my phone right now, I want more Grinch clothing. I want to wear furry green shirts.
I feel like we're going to be doing a photo shoot with all that on for something.
Just full Grinch.
And I'm not going to lie, I thought about just like having one of my plants here as me. And I was just like you come on, but then we had all these troubles. But I thought that'd be so funny to have a plant sitting here, and then I could have just talked from the side and you would have just had a whole conversation with a plant this morning.
All right, well, that's going to be when our technology fails us again. I'm just fully going to expect there's going to be a plant that's going to come back on screen, and we're just going to have the rest of the interview with your alter ego.
Yes.
Andrea, holy cow. Of all the things I could want to kick this interview off with, the burning question I have is the live performance that you did with the put your shame on me. So that being in tandem with your shame on me film, what was that experience like? Because as I understand it from what you've shared on social media and the press that's around that, you were being a live performance artist that people could come up, approach you, and speak their deepest critical thoughts about themselves, and you held space. What was that like?
Yes, that it was honestly, it's still an experience that I had that I still like almost cannot wrap my head around, and I can't wait to perform that again. And it started off, I wrote down one morning, I was sitting down and I was just thinking about, all these things that we say to each other and all the things that people have said to me. And I was able to just within 20 minutes write down people's names, things they had said to me, that then I was like, wow, this is still in my body. And I've been working lately so much on releasing things out of my body because it's time to move on. And I know that these things are holding me back. And then I'm thinking, well, why are these things even in my body? Why are they there in the first place? Is because of someone said it to me at some point in my life, which then gave me an internal monologue of this being a problem. That is my problem. And then I was thinking, this is everyone does this, everyone has this, everyone said something to somebody. So I wrote that down, and it honestly like blew my mind that I was like, oh, so-and-so said this to me, at this point. They said this to me in fourth grade. So-and-so said this to me after I had kids. I know who said this to me when I was pregnant. And then I was very open to like, this isn't just about like, oh, poor Andrea, like all these things that have been said. So I made a quick little video, and then I did a voiceover to the film. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I should do a performance with this that people can say to me, can actually critique me. And so my initial thought was I was going to have people come up and just say to my face these things that people say, but like in a more organized fashion where it's very uncomfortable for people to be like, you could lose a few pounds. And then I decided it will make them think, but it's not going to make them heal. It's not going to help them in any way besides realize like, oh, I'm a, asshole. So then I was like, holy shit, I'm going to have everybody tell me their own inner critical thoughts. And I had people I knew, and I had people that I did not know. The opening night, I ended up standing for 3 hours straight, and I was just in a frame, and I was dressed as the character from my film, my short film. So people came in and watched the film, which is very raw and real. Opened up myself to everyone. And then with the help of my sister's work, and that all plays a huge part in my work as well. But they were able to be vulnerable with me because I had just been so vulnerable with them. And I was planning on a couple of hours, and I was honestly not sure if anybody was going to even talk to me. I just thought that people were going to feel nervous about doing that. And over 100 people, 300 people came through opening night. Over 100 people came up to me and told me their deepest thoughts. And I ended up coming home and saging myself after. There was just lots of tears. I didn't talk back. People were saying things to me that I look up to them in a way of just someone, like I look up to you and your creativity and what you do as a person. And then it would be like you coming to me and saying like, you're never going to make it. Why are you still trying to do this as a profession? And a lot of these people, the creative people, it was like, I say that stuff to myself. And then they were realizing like with it to my face, it put a human in front of them. And I've had people say they're like, I can't even look in the mirror and say stuff to myself anymore without seeing you. And they're like, I still get people reaching out to me about that night. And then actually closing night, I stood for 2 more hours. And the same thing, people were coming through, but it was just this energy. And men and women and people that would come up and just start crying and couldn't do it. It was so, I wish you could have been there. Everyone just agreed. It felt out of this world. It just felt we all felt so connected in such a way because then afterwards, I talked about how everyone was saying the same thing: body image, like what they're eating, what they shouldn't be eating, and success and aging. And so it's like those were the four main things that we all collectively struggle with, but we all pick on each other about it and make comments, and especially online. I mean, it's just crazy what people now can write. But so yes, I am so glad I did it, and I cannot wait to perform that piece again. And I knew I had it in me to do it. I've been doing so much self-work and doing so many things to help heal myself that I just know I'm a person now that I can be there for other people, and I can help them heal themselves through my healing and through seeing what we are capable of doing as human beings once we start pulling those layers off and figuring out what is it that is holding me back? What is keeping me from believing that I can be working on films? I can make film. I can make a film. I can be the one that writes it and directs it and puts it on Film Freeway and submits it to festivals. And before all this, I never had that in me to believe in myself to do it. And I realized it was all these inner critical thoughts that we carry around. What a waste of space in our brilliant bodies to just carry that with us. Yeah, it was awesome. It was seriously just amazing.
It's mind blowing to me that of 100 different people, different, different walks of life, different
Mm-hmm.
reasons that they're in that space, that it was all boiled down to the same type of categories. And, like I just get chills thinking about what that experience must have been like for you, and also the fear of the people that came up and approached you and they had that thing that they wanted to say, because you were literally just being their mirror. Like, that is the
Mm-hmm.
most beautiful metaphor of performance I've ever even envisioned. Is, here's this person, they just showed their inner reality in this just raw piece, and yet if you felt a connection with that, here she is in person to be your mirror. And
Yeah.
the range of spectrum of people wanting to say things out loud, being terrified to even hear themselves say the things.
Yeah. And that was for people to really hear themselves say that and then to be saying it to my face. It just, and the atmosphere, it just created the perfect mix of just enough for them to realize, like, wow. And I really believe that if we can heal ourselves, like that's where as women, especially too, it's always that selfish, like being a mother. It's like that's selfish, like self-love, self-care, all these things. It comes from giving, give. But you give so much, and then you deal with all that stress. And so honestly, it's like if we all just would start meditating and just finding what it is in us, what is really feel yourself. Like what is making you think that about yourself? What's making you think you need to lose weight? What's making you think you look old? What's making you think you shouldn't let your gray hairs come in? And my phone might be doing that again. But it's there. I mean, there was just like such a huge mixture of things as humans too, that it just blows my mind. Like we are all in these human bodies together. I might need to do something about that.
Yeah.
But we're all in
It's
our
not, I'm
little.
not picking it up on my end. I'm not, whatever, if it was a ring or
Okay.
anything, it didn't pick up.
It was just like it's saying something about my storage. But yeah, I think it's funny how we have these souls, and then we're all in these human bodies, and we all have that in. We all have a body. That's one thing that we all have in common with each other. I'm gonna have to change this.
Oh yeah.
But yet, that's what we pick. We pick on that about ourselves, and we pick on it about each other. And really, it's just about self-love. And that will be okay. I might have to lift this for a second and get that.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Yeah,
it'll
yeah, do
just
the
still be
thing.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it. Okay. But I also have this thing. I also was thinking about how with our bodies that, because I don't want to always tend to be like on the negative or like this just so dramatic part of things. Cause I like to focus on comedy as well. And I think that's how we love dealing with things. But, people get a little bit, oh, we don't want to make fun of each other. We don't want to make fun of ourselves. But really, it's really funny if you think about like, maybe we have all had these past lives and these bodies, and we come into a new body, and it's like, oh, look at her nose in this body. Look at her teeth in this body. So I had this whole like thing I was thinking about that maybe we're just doing it wrong. Maybe we're picking on each other this negative way when really it's just like, oh my gosh, like your hair, like, is that even real? Like, oh wow, it's just like amazing. And if we just like embrace the like, oh my gosh, this is like, I've never seen someone with ears like that. It's amazing. And the love that comes with that. Instead though, we just like, why do we jump to criticize each other about all these things that we actually just have in common with each other?
That's so cool. Yeah, to change the narrative of, oh my gosh, look at her. She's so different from me than like, oh dang, she got that set this time. That's cool.
Yes, isn't that funny? Like
That's so
just
cool.
yeah. But anyway.
So okay, so this is something whenever I think about your creative work, your social content, sisterhood. When I look at my own life as an artist, the times that I have released the most intimate, daring, controversial expressions of my life in the world, I can see stark contrasts in the chapters of life when I release things into the world and I was going it alone compared to I was releasing that same type of like this is my soul, this piece, this writing here, what this is showing, that came from the darkest parts of myself. And releasing art like that and knowing when I've had sisters in my life that I come home to. I energetically can come home from releasing something, launching it, going after the thing, shooting the content, and sharing time in those individuals' lives. It's a night and day experience of my energy ultimately getting to be held. And I only bring in, beyond my romantic partner or those people in my life, there's something that's been so special to me as a female artist about being held and being mothered by the other women in my life that are on their own lateral creative experience and their own expressions. What has the role of sisterhood been in your career as an artist?
It has been huge, and I'm very lucky to have my older actual real life sister, Jacqueline Perkins. She's a painter, and she and I we have collaborated on ideas. We throw things around. We get in these like crazy brainstorms, and it's just like no fear. Like whatever's out there, we don't judge each other. We just put it out there. So I've had that throughout my life. I also though have women in my life who I have a writer. I have a lot of women around me now that we all have different things we're going after, but believing in ourselves and pushing each other and really believing in each other as well. It's so important to come across those women. And again, I believe that can come from when you really fully, finally believe in yourself, and you look at these other women in your life that are killing it, that are like, just, you can look at them and be like, how are they so confident? How are they doing that? How is this even possible? Like, look at, they booked another film, or they did this, or they did that. But the minute that you flip it and realize like, I need to learn from them. What are they doing? This is amazing. Look at her go, go, go. You suddenly are realizing I need to learn from these women, and I need them to see me, and I need to build up off of their energy and just go with that, if that makes sense. But my friend Brooke Hamilton Benjesdorf, who I actually sent to you, she is a writer, and she and I are writing now. We've written a screenplay together. The first draft is complete, and she sits down and writes, and I am more on the creative end of that. But I mean, just having these people that you can trust to like tell them ideas that maybe are completely crazy, that you think if I told other people this, they might be like, I think she's losing it. That's how she and I, we just had a meeting yesterday and we both are just like, what? I mean, we talk about the craziest stuff, but it's just, you know, we have to go there then to bring it back. Yeah. So, and with my sister also, we just have always been felt very different. And her work, and when she started painting me, was really, I was like, okay, you know, and I would send her I would send her photos, or I would model, and I started seeing my body through her eyes in this new way. And it really was happening more after I had my kids. And I have a 10-year-old and then I have twin 8-year-old, all three sons. And so I had twins, and that's when, you know, she started painting my body, and having that sisterhood of her seeing me and just like, yeah, no, this is good. And at first you're like, is this good? Like, do I want, you know, this out there? But you have these women that are like, no, we got to stick together. This is right. This is how we are going to heal ourselves and others. Like, we need to do these things. And just, you know, and then of course, my dear friend and also director and writer, Jessica McGaw. She is the writer of the film Tina Tina Bobina that she and I created together. And she worked on a project, and then she was following my Instagram and came to me and was like, I have this idea. And she and I, just in the process of filmmaking and all the highs and the lows, I mean, so many lows, like so many rejections, you know, any creative field, like, but we build each other up, and we remind each other that what we are doing is important. And maybe people, you know, some people just don't have it in them to be the person to be like, this is unique and different, let's do it. But if you trust yourself and you just keep going with it, it doesn't matter. But she's also like, I'll throw ideas to her, and she's so funny and awesome, and I love her because I'll be like, and then Jess, what do you think about it? And she'll just be like, no. And I'm like, okay.
So good. That's a real creative friend.
Yes.
All right.
And it's like, that is what you need, you know? So yeah, yes.
That's so cool. I remember speaking with you years ago about how, you know, in Colorado there's a women filmmaker community, and just like knowing that there's a thread work of female artists of different roles. And it makes me so happy to see, you know, just even doing a glance on your social media of the different talented female directors, people behind the cameras.
Yes.
What is, in your experience, the difference between working with a, say, male dominated film crew or team versus a female led creative team?
Yes. So I have definitely been on both. And it is funny because yes, I have a few things to say about this. So I have been on one very male dominated, and it feels like, you know, in the years that I've been working and really putting myself out there and networking, I do find that in the beginning, years and years ago, it felt very hard for me to connect with some of these men in this area with filmmaking. And for whatever reason, you know, they just already had a bond. They were together. It was like this new person coming in. I felt like I am not the one that is creating. I felt like I was sitting around and waiting for people to cast me in things. And, you know, some would be like, well, I have this like part in this film. Like, I'll reach out to you when it's ready. And it just felt very, you know, I was not the one in charge of what I was doing, what I wanted to be doing. But I do then working with women, I have women, I feel like, you know, that we just connect on that level where it has been a male dominated field for so long, but the shift is happening and in such a brilliant way. And I think we're living in the middle of that shift where it's a little bit awkward right now because there are still some people that do not realize that women are out here doing these things, and we don't even necessarily need to be like, I'm a female filmmaker anymore. But for some people, they still need to hear that because, you know, the numbers, you look at it and it's off. And so we fight for that. But at the same time, I think there's so many women out there doing it, and we are just starting to gain momentum and the confidence that we need, where suddenly we're like, oh yeah, I don't know that we, we're filmmakers now. We're not female filmmakers. We are filmmakers, and we are doing it. On Tina Bobina, we got the pleasure of Lucy Butler, she was in, why can't I think of it right now? It'll come to me. But Dawson's Creek. She was Maggie in Dawson's Creek. She's in Tina Bobina. And one day on set, there was like 10 women in this room. And she said, can I just take a moment and say that we are sitting in a room filled with women? And this is a woman who's been in the industry for a very long time. And so for me, I have to realize that we have made progress, but she sees this industry in a very different way from what I do, because of just our age difference and because of where we're working and the type of projects, we work on and whatnot. But, and I was in a scene, I had no makeup on, and I was like, yeah, I'm just doing this without any makeup. And she goes, it's been always about like perfect hair, perfect makeup, women looking perfect and doing all of these things. And she's like, she's like, yes. And I just remember that energy of her really realizing like how far we have come, with all of these things. But then I also, I have 3 boys, I have a husband, I'm surrounded by a lot of men that are amazing. And I work with my own performance art films now that I just shot my second one called Sardine, which is interesting because I do a lot of body work, but my very good friend, Andy Carrasco, that I've done 2 features with, and I work on commercials with, and my brother-in-law, Randy Perkins. So these 2 guys, Randy and Andy, have been with me and always have been super supportive from when I actually got fully back into filmmaking. I have like kind of that like mixed emotions. And with Andy working with me on these performance art films, I actually love bringing in his masculine energy. And he also does have feminine energy, which I have a lot of masculine energy. But I think that it's just that the energy that creates for the type of work that I am doing, it is very important to me. And he is so supportive of my projects. And I do crazy shit. And he's like, yes, let's go shoot it. And there's never this like, like questioning me or, well, I think that probably you should do this. Or he's just like, yeah, I'm here for you because I can do this and I can help you out in this way. And so I love that there are a lot of men trickled in here that we are making great steps forward. And I just can't wait. So many women before us have fought for this for a long time. And I bring a lot of my ancestors into my work with me. And I think that we're living through a very cool moment, and it might seem hard and scary at times, but if you just can look at it as like, there's a huge shift happening. There's a huge shift that I'm making decisions about my body and what I'm showing and what I'm putting out there, and not in a sexual way. And I am making that decision. I just think that that's amazing, to be able to start having a voice and start having the support of everyone around us in a creative community like that. So, yeah.
So before we get into how do you bridge those worlds of, before our call, we were saying, yeah, what is it to be a woman that is in front of the camera, has worked in various fields, but you just said something about you bring many of your ancestors in with you in the work that you do. What do you mean by that?
So, I just have these strong feelings that a lot, okay, this is what I'm like, I need to think before I answer fully, but within us, I feel like a lot of these blocks and these things, and going to like internal monologues and negative thoughts and all of this stuff that's within us, it I think that a lot of it actually starts way sooner than, you know, people are telling us things. So with ancestors, with a lot of women from my past, my grandmothers, my great grandmothers, there was a ton of creativity that was never utilized in a way that I believe these women in my life and men could have been fully living out their full potential of who they could be. And my grandmother, my dad's mom, she was asked to be a model in New York City, lived in Iowa, and it was just like, no way you're not going to go out there and do that. And for her, I just think of and yes, I maybe would not have been here if she had gone and done that, but maybe I would have been here in a different body at some point. But it could have just been something else for her. And she didn't have it in her to say, I'm going. And in society, in that place that mostly for women, that these women were put, like where were we were getting recognized for, you know, how the home looks, how we look, how they would be home for their husbands. And a lot of that, and people will say, well, women, I think a lot of women enjoyed it and doing that. But man, women are not meant, in my opinion, and I don't want to like make anybody mad here, but like we are not meant to be in a home cleaning it and cooking food for everybody. Sure, I enjoy it. I like having a clean home. I like cooking, but there's so much more there. So like, shame on me. I was doing that for my grandmothers and even my own mother, my mom's alive. But these people that I can stand up for myself. And it took me quite a while to get here, but I'm just fucking done. And I'm sick of all these things that can't just be said to me. And I'm sick of all these things of, you know, because I'm wearing a shorter skirt on a commercial, that people can email and then send that email around and talk about how short Andrea's skirt is. This has been going on and on and on. And I'm not the first person in history to deal with this stuff. So I bring my ancestors, these women that I know were brave and they tried, and every one of them made a little bit extra, you know, a movement towards making a better world for us to all be in. But it just was different. It was very different times. And my latest film, Sardine, again, it starts as like 1950s, and I'm in a kitchen and I'm very perfect. And I am making a sardine sandwich, and it ends very differently than how it begins. And it's, again, just what if, you know, what a wonderful world. Like, it's all happening in a way that, you know, we're then in this point of trying to unravel a few things that got kind of controlled. But what if we had just always been, women had never been made to think that we are just meant to be the caregivers for everyone else around us, you know, and really encouraged to like, go be your wild self. Yeah, show off your body. Yes, we have, you know, we are just so like covering our nipples, you know, just that type. This is how I talk. I go from that to covering our nipples, but it's like the truth. Like, I keep getting in so much trouble for posting a painting of my nipples on Instagram when there's literally memes of male nipples all over Instagram. And this all is in us. This was all in our grandmothers. This was all in our, you know, and then it also pulls into like how men have been taught to treat women. And men will be out there like, yes, I support women. I've always been, you know, supportive of women. But you don't even realize that down deep, you have it. There are some men that just have it in them to not believe that women are as important. And that could be a whole other conversation, because honestly, I think that there is so much good in the world, and I lately have been focusing on so much. My husband, he does get, you know, like, oh, your wife, and oh, you can't control her. And he's like, go, Andrea. I mean, we've been together on and off since high school. We just celebrated 17 years of marriage. And he is like, yeah, go. And my latest film, it's like, yeah, he is supportive of it, because he knows that what I am doing is good for the world and it is important. And honestly, us as creative people, and all creative people out there listening to this right now, I had a doctor tell me, a male doctor in his 70s, he told me that what you are doing is just as important as what I do. And I've always said that with my sister. Being creative and putting it out into the world is so important. And I think that if everyone would do it, we would all feel better about ourselves. We would all connect on such a higher level that we don't even realize right now is possible. I mean, why do we love movies? Why do we love going to concerts? Why do we love going to art galleries? Why do we love going and reading books that people like? If you think of all the things we love doing, last night I went to Weezer. We're all singing. I mean,
Whoa, whoa,
like,
whoa.
yeah, whoa! Like, we are, although like those moments, it's in a creative higher place that we all feel connected because we are just one big energy together. But then we break it down and let's get mad about this. Well, look at my house. It looks so perfect. I'm going to put pictures of it on Instagram to make you mad. These little things of comparison and trying to be better and doing all these types of things, it breaks us down. So rolling back around, this is just how I've like to my ancestors. I just believe that if we all would really think about how wild life is and just these energies that are around us and the people that were here before and what did they do? What did they do to get me to this point in my life? And yeah, sure, these people have not been able to fix all the problems, but every step you take, then what I'm giving to my sons and what I'm giving to my nieces and what I'm even giving to people that are older than me in my life that I am related to and to friends and family is I'm giving them someone real to look at and someone who is just, going to follow, has cleared the path to not care what people think anymore. And they are just going to keep going forward and hope to lead the way for other people to be like, I want to do that. I want to stop caring what people think about me. I'm going to do this for my ancestors. I am going to be the person that they wanted so badly to be because that is in me. They are all in us. And then start moving forward instead of hanging on to the past because we cannot change it. And it's the only way I believe that true change will start happening. Otherwise, we're just going to loop it again.
Yes.
And it just cannot be.
Yeah, it's a crazy process, but I love that just the concept of bringing into perspective the costs of where we came from, but then don't get stuck there. Don't start building altars to the past and worshiping something that no longer is this current reality, but instead stewarding it well into what's possible.
Yeah.
That's such an awesome sentiment. And oh man, when you mentioned the ancestors experience, if I can get really weird, we're almost an hour into this. So anybody that's really listening to this, like they're invested in this conversation. So when you mentioned ancestors and when you mentioned you feel like you carry them, if I can share a woo-woo juju off the wall experience that I've had, my probably 7 or 8 years ago, I was in a headspace that I wanted to reclaim some spiritual experiences from coming from a very controlling religious background. My own sense of spirituality, I was seeking out meeting my spirit guides. And I was very curious about this concept and listening and researching a lot of this type of language in different cultures and how they perceive it. Is it an animal totem? Is it a person? Are you an Egyptian priest from Cleopatra? All these things. I was just listening to all this stuff. And then I sat for several days with this ask to whatever the cosmic powers that be. I would like to meet my spirit guides. And I'm sitting and I'm positioning my spirit in this way to be receptive. And I had an experience of a man was presented to me, and he was wearing these high-waisted brown trousers. He had a button-up, almost like pearl snap shirt, and it was very like starched. Everything was like very crisp, which I was like, that people don't dress like that now. That's strange. Long sleeve shirt, black or brown rimmed glasses, and a brown hat. And in this, how he presented, he was looked like someone that was in his late 70s, and yeah, this tall man. And so I see this person in this sort of meditative state, and I knew it was Peppa. I knew it was my great grandfather that I don't think I think he passed before I was born. And so in this exchange, my logic mind was like, if that's Peppa, like this person presenting as Peppa, I was like, and I asked, I was like, you were really mean and abusive to Mima, like my grandmother. So I had this, my logic mind was asking, like, why would you be showing up? I knew you were a wife beater. I knew that you called her Jezebel. I knew that there's these stories of how her context, she was yeah, I mean they came together when they were 14, and she was much more of a sort of servant character in from the stories that I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, why is this man being presented to me that to me is the epitome of an oppression to females? Why is this person here? And so I'm exchanging this sort of question, and I'm asking, I thought that you were mean to women. And he responded and was like, I was very cruel to the women in my life. And in this new season, it's my job to look after you. It's my job. It's my work now that I'm coming to cover you, protect you. I have your back. That's what this next season is. And he was an artisan leather work, like he did leather jewelry for saddles, and his saddles and his leather work is in different museums in the Southwest. And so he was this incredible artist. And even though it was this bridging the gap of cow, this person was an absolute artist and a very dysfunctional, the energy that he was relating with towards people. So after this exchange with this person and being like, all right, I guess Peppa, I think that's one of my spirit guides. I think this is one of my people. And speed up to later that year, I was visiting my family in Austin, and I was flipping through some of the old photo albums, and I found a photo of Peppa in brown slacks. They were heavily starched, white shirt, button up, brown hat, black or brown framed glasses. It was him. And it was just one of those, just, I don't know what category you put that in, other than recognizing when you said ancestors. I personally have had experience of, yeah, I so agree that there's so much heritage and lineage of work that's meant to be expressed in the world, that I think there's always opportunities through the generations for certain things to be expressed or embodied. And it's really a matter of who chooses to answer that call. And I couldn't agree more with how you're framing, this work is important. This is in my spirit to operate in this, versus choosing an easier route, which is, I really don't like being perceived by the community, or I don't like getting emails about the length of my skirt, and me existing in a way that feels true for me to be in this world. That's so powerful.
Yeah. And it is like, I believe when you're in those other states and you really are open to ancestors and that type of stuff, I think that they will come. And my sister, if you ever have her on, Jacqueline, she has some amazing stories of moments she's had with spirits. There's one, and it's more, we live a block away. She has even felt like they visited me and her. There's different people, our piano teacher that passed away, and just different people and it's mostly these women. And my grandma Elaine, who just always was a woman of, I don't know why everyone always, all these women, they go get their hair colored or done all the time. She goes, I just take a shower and I rinse it out. And then She's like, just let it go, whatever.
Oh.
And she aged in a way of just, and I'm sure inside she was struggling. Maybe I didn't see, maybe she didn't want to talk to me about it, but she just aged in a way that I've always really loved and looked up to her in that way. And I think that, yeah, if she'd had the freedom, but that is, I mean, and that's the other thing, like your grandfather, that's amazing. I love that what he had on. I mean, you can't make this up.
Yeah. That's why I'm
And
like, it was
and I
so far
love
off.
to, I mean, don't they say like we're only using what, like 10% of our brains, or there are things that we just like cannot see until we really open ourselves up and open our brain and open everything up to allowing that to happen. And I've been listening to a lot of different meditations. I've read, like, there's a few books that have really influenced me to start changing the way I'm living, because I was living in such anxiety. Actually, one doctor told me I was living my life like I was being chased by a bear all the time. And I was like, oh my God, this is not good. And I just would be like, I have it in me. I don't know. I'm supposed to be creating. I'm supposed to be doing things, but I wasn't like able to do it. We have been taught for so long, we live in this way of survival, which is do you know Joe Dispenza? And he talks about our energy like points and living in our waist down in our survival mode of hunger, reproduction, and stress and anger and competition and anxiety. And a lot of our energy gets blocked there. And that leads me to, I was learning about this woman that was doing these meditations. I struggle with autoimmune disease. And I was like, I need to unblock this. It's like, that is what is going on. I'm living in these lower energy points and I need to bring it up and out. Like, I need to get this flowing. A lot of people, I think, are turning to this stuff because really realizing that it's working and helping, and I am feeling better and I'm not having so much anxiety and brain fog. For me, I just think that, ancestors, they just didn't, maybe we kind of went off track a little bit in organized religion, what this has meant and who you should be and how your home should look and how you should be treating your wife and who you should be married to. It just, like, I don't know where we got so off track of just the natural flow of the world, where we're all supposed to be going and what's next. And so I'm sure that he didn't want to be hurting anyone, and probably didn't even know why. And I'm never a person who is fully forgiving of anyone that is doing, any harm to anyone. But I do like to sit and really think about what is going on inside of them that is causing this to happen. And honestly, it just all comes back to like internal issues that he, didn't know. I mean, I even have in my own life of moments when my kids were so little and I could just get so mad and I didn't even know who this person was. I'm just like, why are you guys doing that? And it's because I have no control. I had no control. I didn't know where these emotions and all these energies were coming from within inside of me. So it's like, I don't know. That's like, I could just go on and on and on about all of that type of stuff too, because it is sad, all the negativity that has come from that. And then our bodies kind of just crave more negativity if you go in that route and more drama, and you can actually flip it and go towards happiness and go reach for the things that will better your life. So I don't know.
This is so true. It's such a experience of how do you steward your creativity? A question that I was so curious thinking about you of, you have 3 kids, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're, also a creative, you're prolific in your creative processes, what you're offering the world. Just in the midst of all the activity in your life, how do you bring your creativity to the surface in your schedule?
So I quit cleaning my house. There's a shit ton of laundry upstairs to do.
Just cue like a rat going behind you.
Yeah. When my mother-in-law, who I love and adore, and she's so supportive of me as well, when she comes over and I'm busy doing things and she'll help with the kids, I used to be like, oh gosh, she just thinks my house is a mess. And now she'll clean it. And now I'm like, oh hell yeah. Thank you, Vivian.
Shout out to Vivian. Help.
I think it was a very big struggle in the beginning. And honestly, Tina Bobina is about a woman who is a creative mother and lives in a society that people don't take serious. And, you know, and I still get that, oh, you're an actor. Like, okay, it's not a legit job. But then once I started to really like realize that I love being, you know, I love being a mom. I love being a wife, and I have an amazing family and they are all super supportive of me. But I realized that I was literally making myself sick by not fulfilling out all these creative ideas that I have. And just this creative world that I've always been in. And once I accept, like, I just don't see the world like a lot of, I know there's a lot of people out there that feel this way. So I hope people are connecting in that way. But the minute you then have to get over that of like the silliness it felt to be saying to people like, oh, I'm an actor. It's like, oh, really? What have you been in? And it just was easier. Like, oh, I'm just a mom and I'm a mom. And you get the people respect that part of you of being a good mom. But anything else, it's really hard to get that respect and the support around doing these other things, because then if you're doing that, then you're ignoring your family. And so then you're not raising good people and you're not being, you know, a good wife, and you're doing these things. I think some of this you can put on yourself. I've shown up to photo shoots and men ask me who's watching my children, and it's never women. And I asked my husband,
God.
I asked my husband, do you ever deal with these types of things? So honestly, for me, it's a bunch of internal work I had to do to realize that I can bring all of this into my life. And the minute I started believing in myself doing it, my husband was like, and my kids were like, okay. And it just started to roll, but it was not easy in the beginning. And I mean, I had a 2-year-old and twin newborns, and nothing can prepare you for that.
Gosh, holy
cow. You go through all these things in life, whether you have children or not. There's just things that happen in your life that are completely life-changing moments. And I think the one thing with having children, and I even think with marriage or new relationships, but I do think with having children, you see so many people do it. And then you have kids and suddenly you're like, oh, like, this is hard. And I feel so different and my body is so different. And how am I going to do this? But I want to be that person doing it, and I want it all. So I kind of had to settle into a lot of that and really just accept myself for, what it was, because that constant pressure to be the perfect mother and doing all the things was, I really think I, in a way, gave myself an autoimmune disease. Just because I was trying so hard to look so good. I was trying so hard to be the perfect mom. I was trying so hard to figure out what was missing in my life. Why I didn't feel fulfilled with everything. So now it's amazing because I pull from all of that. And I love that we can go back on past experiences in our lives. And maybe you think you dealt with it then, but it's never too late to deal with it again in the new person that you are now. And so I just think overall, even to my husband the other day, I'm like, I'm a happier person. Like, can't you just tell? Like, I'm just happier because of all these things that I've been doing, and my kids it starts to fall into place. So in a way, it feels now suddenly kind of effortless. And I do realize I go through these kind of, crazy creative states where shit doesn't get done around my home, and I'm on set and I'm planning all these things, and maybe I'm in a rheumatoid arthritis flare up. I was planning a whole film shoot while I was on the couch. My knees, I was like, how am I going to be running in this film? How am I going to do all this in a couple of weeks? But I just I push through it because creativity, I have to do it to be alive. It is what keeps me alive. And it keeps me going. And it's just, it's a hard balance. It is a really hard balance, but honestly, once I got over I don't give a fuck what other people think about me, as long as I know I'm being a good mom. And I think that the most important thing, I can sit here all day and I can make them, yeah, maybe I'm not making the most fancy meals, or sometimes I am, but if I can show them what it looks like to have a mother who is following her dreams and is not giving up and is working and creating and doing and going for it, I honestly think that is a way better lesson for them to learn, that to see me achieving my dreams instead of telling them that they can be and do whatever they want, you know? So it's taken a little bit of a balance, but honestly, with my parents and support from my mother-in-law, like I said, and my husband and my friends. And I mean, I have girlfriends that are like, yeah, you're going to go do this. Like, we'll pick up your kids from school. Oh, they're like, no, you just got it. You have to do this stuff. And like my sister and I living close, like we are a huge support of each other. We pick up each other's kids, run them over here. She's applying for this huge art competition that I'm like, I'll get your kids tonight after school so you can do that. And the saying it takes a village, but it honestly, it does take a village. So I am lucky to have people take me seriously and support me in my creativity, because I also love being a mom, and I always wanted to be a mom. My husband and I remember being in high school talking about how we knew we'd want kids someday. And so it's like, it can feel though at times like, oh gosh, how they play ice hockey and soccer and they do all the things. But when you realize that your life, it's okay to have a life that doesn't look like what society tells you that your life is supposed to look like, as a what's the word I'm looking for? Just a family that has a household that is running smoothly. And you just look at your own life and say, I'm just gonna do it different. It's just not gonna be like that. And that's okay, because for us, it makes us a happy house. And yeah.
Well, and what a stark contrast between, I mean, selling out on your dreams or expressions and thinking, I just need to create a consistent house and make a nice, stable environment. Then, and you're dead inside. You know, it's just, there's a trade-off that I think that's awesome. Of, yeah, maybe sometimes the house isn't perfectly cleaned up, but there's an aliveness in your home, and it's everybody, every member of the family actually being online with their energy in the moment, that you're not just facilitating. I mean, some of my dearest second mom figures in my life, I watched the joy they would have in their children, their daughters' activities, but when I would ever ask them about their heart or their spirit, or are you dating someone, for the divorced moms that were in my life, I'm going to wait until the girls are in college. And then nothing ever changed. And it's just, your life has to continue going on. So shifting into another realm that I personally have been like, how does she do it? Is with your creative projects, with the short films, with you writing a screenplay, how do you build the teams and the timelines and or the budget or lack of budget to be able to produce short films, independent films, things where, you're not having a massive producing house fund. This isn't a Hollywood operation. What has been your experience with actually pulling off and expressing creative projects?
Again, it comes to just the support around me. For Tina Teen Bobina with Jess, we have the short that we completed, and she's a professor at SDSU. So we did get some funding through the university, and I was the guest actor that came out to San Diego and shot that film. We have a full feature length that we have created, and we are looking for funding for that. So we will be starting the process of, raising money towards that soon, or looking for executive producers or anybody that wants to get involved in our film and seeing the feature, made. That is a huge struggle. I had money. It's a huge part of this and filmmaking and wanting. Because I believe everyone deserves to be paid. I do not like having people working and doing things for me that they are not getting money. But I do have a group of people around me now with a lot of my short film projects that they believe in it so much that we are kind of just getting, with my own Andrea Dratch films, getting a base together because we know that there's going to be more in the future and that this is going to be going somewhere with this type of work that I'm doing, that I have live performance pieces I want to do with it. I had a meeting, and it's funny because I still haven't reached out to Richard Hicks. He's a casting director in California that I've only had one meeting with. And it's funny because Diane Bell, another director, that she has helped me a lot in dropping your not believing that you're worthy, not believing that anyone would believe in your projects, not believing that you can talk to people and they maybe would want to help you figure out a way to get these things made. And so she set up this meeting, and it was just funny because Richard, he's in LA, and he's just kind of like, okay, what do you need? I'm like, I don't know. I was told we would get along. But I told him, and this was years ago, and I said, and it really, this stuck with me, but I said to him, I don't feel normal. And I have all these ideas and I have all this creative energy, and I just don't know what to do with it. And I'm doing the audition, lots of commercial auditions here with my amazing agency, Radical, which, it's a lot of commercial auditions. And as you can see on my social media, I'm not really like a commercial. I mean, I do commercials, but my true passion is in this other type of work. And I said, I just don't know. I just don't know what to do. How do I do this? And he goes, well, find people and create with them. And I was like, kind of mad. Like, you're supposed to, like, come on, man. Like, you gotta, like, come on, you're my hookup. Like, let's go. Like, you're my, don't you have like someone you could
see button? Yeah.
And I just remember I got off of that and I was just kind of frustrated. And I'm like, yeah, it's so easy to say, like, to an actor, find people and create with them. And then it was like a week later and I was like, shit, I need to find people and create with them. Like, I have people and I do have good ideas. I just never have fully executed on them. And it was about a week later that Jess McGaw, the director, my dear friend, she reached out and was like, let's shoot. I have this idea for a short film, Tina Tina Bobina. And it was like, I put that into the world. And then I did that, which then led me to doing more performance pieces, which led my sister. And we just keep, she and I together, our sister rivalry is what we have. We are together when we do shows. This is going to be, well, I'm announcing it now. But when you find people and you create with them and you really just start like, do, let's go. And you build upon that and you believe that you will, like, you're like, this is good. This is worthy. And you start having more people that believe in you. My makeup artist who does work for Woodley's commercials, that's my family's business. She now comes on set. And so it's like funny because it's like my double life, but she comes on set while I'm doing these crazy, she just did 8 layers of latex makeup on me for my other type of work. And then my sister-in-law did that behind the scenes. She's a photographer. My amazing friend, Alicia Kraft, you may know her. She's a musician in Fort Collins. And she is she's a person who I even told her in my meeting, I said, years ago, I first saw her in a music video and in Fort Collins. And I was just like, oh my God, like, she is amazing. And I just fangirl her still. And I tell her, but I never would have believed that I would have the have it in me to believe in myself enough to reach out to her with one of my ideas. And so she wrote a song for my last film, Sardine. And we had a whole meeting and there was no film made yet. There was no song. And I said, I'm just going to trust that our energy is a match and it will go, and it's insane. I cannot wait for you to see this. She also, it was crazy because I was listening to her music on set, Tina Bobina, and she reached out to me later and was like, I own, this album. I want you guys to use this if you like it, for Tina Bobina. And it's really believing it and putting it into the world. And we just all are in this belief of, as we network, we are all a group of people that, are pushing forward and following. My friend let me use her Verbo to shoot it in. She goes, I'm just so happy I can support your creative ideas.
Oh.
And when you're an honest, genuine person, and I'm not using any of these people. We all have the same end goal, and we all are also people that just have to keep creating. And know that it will lead to even more projects. But so yeah, it's figuring out Seed and Spark. I'm going to be running. We have a new film, so Tina Bobina, and then another film that we have the screenplay is Sense of Direction, and that one we have plans to shoot in New York City and Colorado, and that one we will be raising money towards. But these little performance art films that are not so little, it is a way for me to get my crazy work out into the world on a super low budget. And I am giving people, some things and food and giving them what they deserve. But my end goal is, I tell these people, I want us to be a team. I want to keep moving forward and making more and us getting paid. And that is Diane Bell. She is a huge believer and supporter of, once you have your worth and once you believe that you do deserve money for creativity, because I know we all struggle with that, because let's face it, I would probably be doing this even if I didn't get paid ever. And so that's the part where you got to shift that mindset. So we need money. I need money to make these projects. I need money to perform and for people to come in and experience life-changing moments in their life. And you have to have people realize that you believe in yourself enough that you have something to offer them that they need and they want, and it is worth their time and their money to give that to you. So yeah, though, honestly, it's years of networking and it's years of trust and belief in and supporting each other. And all of these people that I'm bringing up today is also me supporting them genuinely and believing in them and that I know that what they are capable of doing. And when that is there and it comes from the heart and it's not surface level, and you honestly respect and care about these people in your life that see you and believe in your projects, that is it's irreplaceable. And so you just go from there.
I love how you're describing how, we probably would be doing the same thing if we didn't have the budgets. We would be winging it, or we would be, you'd pull it off in one way or another. So tell me about, if I could springboard into any prompt for you. Oh, okay. I feel like we've danced around this, but you seem to be extremely comfortable on camera. Were you always this way? Who were you as a child? Where was the breadcrumb trail of you being, because I love your content because I'm like, her range of facial expressions is fantastic. Like, I love that, the art that you're making, you're not like, I'm going to look so good in each and every one of these shots. You're like eating a turkey leg and you're just like blatantly, here you are. And I'm like, that is a woman after my own heart over there. How were you always this way? Did it open? Was there a season in your life where you were like, fuck it? What was your trajectory to your own embodiment?
Yes. So I believe, and I feel like I did start this way. And I have always had it in me. And I've always been kind of a rule breaker, if you want to call it that. Elementary school, was very involved, wanted to be up in front of people, wanted to be performing, got into middle school, did all the plays, played the witch and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, got to die on stage, which was like, fuck yeah. But I also did sports, and also that growing up in the 80s and 90s of also finding my feminine side and how can I be this, which it just honestly, like, it was there, but I never felt like, oh, I am this like sexy woman, type of thing. So I feel like I was striving to be that. I'm jumping into like what I'm answering what you're, I'm not, I'm like, no, I'll go to
just
the
take me
loop.
down the rabbit hole. Let's go.
But so this is where, this is actually something that I was thinking about that I wanted to talk about. So where does it for women, or girls or even young men and boys, like, where is it suddenly that it changes, that you feel this pressure to be this person, whatever that person is? It society? Is it us? Is it both? Is it a mixture? Like, where does it change? And that has been for me lately, and now I'm finally out of it over the last few years, of realizing and loving the contrast of, yeah, I can be your sexy woman, but like, this is where my true heart, my heart is in these other places of showing this side of me that you should hide and nobody should see, and that women do want to hide, and people are calling me brave for doing it, which it's not being brave. I'm just like being. And I think that in college, I went to college in New York City. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. And I went there from Montana State University. And I studied film at Montana State, and I studied film, I studied directing, all the things with filmmaking. I got into the academy, and while I was there, I felt this extreme pressure that I feel like I put on myself, but also would hear, you need to lose weight. You need to look this way. You need to maybe like not have your hair this way. Like, no casting director is going to give you a second like chance if you don't do this. And I mean, this is real. Like, I was living in New York City in 2002 to 2005, 6-ish. And I heard these things from my professors. I heard that, you need to keep your weight down. Have you thought about growing out your hair? Like, have you these? And you look, people share them all the time, like Britney Spears and all this stuff, these women. And so I was in my mind thinking, okay, I have to be so beautiful and so perfect to be a filmmaker, to be an actor. But I knew I had this, like, and even all my friends in New York, like, they would say probably now, like, oh, that's the same Andrea we knew. Like, to this day, I've always had that silly side. But then it comes into, for me, where I think that pressure we put on ourselves to try to be that person was holding me back. Like, it just was holding me back so much because I was not being my true self. And then I got into doing commercials for my family's business. And before that, I actually sold furniture for about 10 years and was not feeding any of my creativity, but love my family's business. They worked hard. They started in the 70s. Suddenly, though, all the people in Colorado that I had not seen in years were seeing me on TV. And it was like, I wasn't seeing these people, but they were seeing me. I had professional hair and makeup done, and I was this certain way, and this person, I call it my alter ego, Andrea Woodley, my maiden name. But I realized that, oh my gosh, now I have to live up to this woman that is this sales lady on TV that looks really done up and her hair and makeup are perfect. And now if I run into people on the street when I'm like, hey, like in my backwards hat that I usually have and my oversized t-shirt, whatever, it's like, how, like, and it was me doing it to myself of like, okay, how, like, and then suddenly you're like, it was just. And so the joke is a lot of people, people in my neighborhood, they're like, oh, that's not the Andrea on TV. And it's like, oh, shit. So I don't look beautiful like on TV. Like, it's just this mind. It's a whole mind thing. Now I've done so much work. I listened to Untethered Soul. I've done all this. I really had to, after having children, I had an alcohol addiction for 9 years, which now I've been about almost 10 years sober. That played a big role in just this whole in-between part of my life. But honestly, my shadow side loves it. I've learned so much. But I went from college to working a job that wasn't fulfilling my creativity, to having an alcohol addiction, to becoming a mother. And I just like didn't, who am I? You know, like who, like, where is that little girl? Where's that person that just loved to be on stage and loved to do all this? So it has been, people could sit back and be like, oh, she, you know, she doesn't care. Going back to like, she doesn't care what people think or doing, you know, you see these people that maybe you look up to and it's like, well, how did they get that part? And they're just so beautiful. And of course they're gonna, you know, they just have always had it all handed to them and they can do this, when you honestly have no idea what people have gone through in the years that I've spent refinding myself and shedding this expectation that people have of me. And I was also raised in a religious family, like not super religious, but it's there, and grandparents, and it lingers. And realizing like I have to go be myself, otherwise I'm not gonna feel good. And it's honestly that simple. And I think that if so many people out there would just go back, do the work, and realize that if you don't feel good, if you are really being mean to yourself, or you're being mean to your spouse or your children, and you're just angry all the time, and you don't feel right, and nothing is falling into place for you, and you're like, well, they have it and they did this, and of course they're doing that. It's literally because you are trying so hard to be something maybe you're not, that you're just making yourself sick. And you gotta realign, and you gotta find that little, I had to, who's that little girl in me? I mean, that's even bringing up like doing it for our ancestors. Fucking do it for that little person inside of you that now would be like so proud of the things that you are achieving in your life.
That's so awesome. Just the coming, it doesn't even sound like you're coming back home to yourself as much as you're coming into the new home for the season that you're in, and bringing all of you online with it. That's so awesome.
And I mean, all of it has to like, every single bit of the things that we go through in our life, you have to get to a point, no matter how low the moments were or how high they were, you have to get to a point of honestly being like, fuck yeah, I loved everything I went through. Because without it, especially as a creative person, I'm very lucky that I've experienced all these different things in my life, from rheumatoid arthritis, I literally become where I cannot even brush my own teeth or put on my shoes or lift blankets off of myself in bed. And I don't, this is not something I don't really talk about this very much, but I should. I mean, I know a lot of people struggle with a lot of these things, but if you can't be like, oh, I kind of love it. I get to experience what this is like, and also realize some people have it worse than I do. Some people can't get out of bed ever. And I am finding a way to go with it, but give people hope. Give people hope who are struggling with addiction, who are masking their creativity, because believe me, I know if a big creative audience is listening to this, addiction and alcohol addiction and all types of addiction, go be your fucking weird, crazy self. You don't need to have alcohol as a reason. You know, you don't need any of these things. Like, just honestly, it's just find out who you are. And it's going to take a lot of work, but like, go be that person. We need you. The world, my goal in life is to make more and more people just like find what it is you want to do and just like go do it. The world, we honestly need people doing that. We need you. I need to see what you have to create. We're missing out on so many fun, amazing things because society brings people into thinking that this is the way we are supposed to live, in this one only perfect, like, looking type of way. And I'm so happy, though. I'm not the only, I mean, lots of people, you are, like, lots of people are busting through and have, but I think more and more people are even like, damn, this makes me feel good. It's almost selfish. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Ugh.
almost a selfish way of
It's
being,
it's also
but I
even
think I
acknowledging,
think that's a
yeah.
positive. It's a positive, though. Like, if we're all doing it, what a better world it will be.
Well, that's making me think of, I had an interaction with I'm a part of this technology meetup every month, and there's a lot of very intellectual people there, very successful PhD students, what have you. But
Mm-hmm.
I watched a scenario play out where one gentleman, and I guess also contextually, many of these individuals are autistic. They're functioning autistic, or they're severely autistic, but they are the top people in their field. So I watched a gentleman who is on the spectrum acknowledge another gentleman that is on the spectrum. He proceeded to tell him, "Hey, why are you doing that?" You know, he has a nervous self-soothing gesture that he does, and he fluctuates as his mind is churning, and I find it incredibly endearing because I mean, my example that I gave was, most people don't realize in interview settings, I do my own self-soothing under the table with being able to, I do my own sensory anchoring. But this
Mm.
person began to say, you know, you shouldn't do that. Why are you doing that? If you ever want to be perceived as confident, you know, Putin would never do that. Like, if you want to see these major leaders, you have to be still. So yeah, like, I don't know. I think I see what you're doing. And because the gentleman was responding with, this is something that I do, and it anchors me back into my body, into my own experience, into a framework that it keeps me going socially. And to be able to recognize that, just the fact that that person that works for him and this other person essentially saying, you need to be able to fit in this box. You need to be
Mm-hmm.
able to sit still, because this is the example of what it means to be a respectable leader. And as someone that is perpetually filming leaders on camera, and it's my job as a creative and as a director to put different personalities in their best light, I let the gentleman speak for as long as he cared to on, hey, dude, be someone you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And people sharing, there, it became a debate because someone else said, well, if you have this quirk about you, but you want to be perceived as the mainstream stereotype of a confident leading man, if you go on a date, it's not, you pretend to not have that quirk for 2 dates, 3 dates, but then it comes out on date 4 and you're leading with this superficial behavior, ultimately coming back into, be who you are, and just trust that if you ever need to be in the spotlight, that you are hiring people that are going to show you in your best light and play to your strengths. I think that was my biggest thing to take, the
Yeah.
takeaway of, hey, why don't you sit like Vladimir Putin because he, you know, commands authority. It's like, okay, first of all, put your action figures away and, you know, your whatever that perspective, but recognize, look at this individual, and this is one nuance of who he is, and how when his mind starts calibrating, he goes off, and celebrate that, and just bringing it full circle into the ownership of who you are. And if someone isn't going to interact with you because of a, you know, I mean, even you and my conversation of the creative realms that we're in, who we choose to be with a camera rolling, what does that mean? You know, what are people talking about? And it's like, you have to own, you know, the quote, let your freak flag fly. It's like, let who you are be in the spotlight, and don't pretend you're someone that you're not, because people feel it and they sense it from a mile away. And on the controverse, the inverse of that, they feel when there's authenticity, and it gives people
Mm-hmm.
permission to do the same.
Yes, absolutely. And when you look at the people in your life of musicians or people that really you look up to in their creativity, the ones who have so many people are looking towards them, most of these people are kind of like nothing like anyone else. I love observing people and behaviors, and I feel like I do that way more now instead of I don't really get involved in people want to complain about this or talk about these awful things. And I'm more just in this mindset now of I really observe it. And some people can confuse that with you don't care. And it's not that. I care deeply and I have a lot of empathy for everyone. But when you want to, make change in the world, and you have to almost be a little bit, listen to what's coming in and what's going on. But really, you have to block out a lot or just observe it to not let it fully affect you. Because man, it's really easy. And for me, I know that I can get going and I'll go down pretty fast, like where you're just suddenly in this state of like depression, almost. And it's not even really what's happening directly to me. And we can't have that. We can't have everybody walking around feeling so sad about everything. We need you to get your energy back up, and we need it to go up, and we need people to go out there and make change and be nice to one another. And that's where, because I feel like it's so funny because you'll have the person that peace in the world, like we need peace. And then they're also the one like, get off the fucking road. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, I just love this contrast, but it's also like, hold on a second. Like we just need a little more calm. Like, and just we're so quick to compare and tell people what they should be doing with their lives. And that is what I think that is the main thing, is really thinking, letting it in. And then if you are changing your life for someone else, it's not good.
It's not going to pan out.
Yeah. And having someone telling you that what they're doing is better than what you're doing. I also love that down deep, I just believe, because I know that I'll even, they're like, oh, but I don't know though, is it? Or all these things that we put out there as a creative person, you put into the world. I know everybody else is thinking about these things. And even if they want to act like a certain way, I just I love making people feel uncomfortable. That's like one of my things that I love making people think about what they're thinking, what they're doing, and feel uncomfortable. And I think that is where a lot of my work, it comes from. And it's none of it is that I'm forcing it. It just flows out of me, and then my subconscious, and then it all comes together. And I'm like, okay, this all makes sense because I'm just like rolling with what I'm feeling. And if I'm capable of that, I know that other women that I look up to that are capable of that type of work have really impacted me and the way that I view myself and my body. And my film Sardine, I'm kind of just going off now, but my one that I shot it early because Justine Bateman just started a new film festival called Credo, and there's no AI, like no AI at all in anything. And there's a part in my film that it's pretty out there. And I was like, oh, this is very interesting that I'm choosing to run around. You'll see my body. You'll see my body, slow motion, my cellulite. I've had twins. I weighed 247 pounds when I was pregnant with my twins. And I mean, they were over 6 pounds each. But what good am I doing? Always trying to hide my body and trying to be the person that everybody wants me to be, this sexy lady. Maybe no one wants me to be the sexy lady, but
I want you to be the sexy lady.
And like the sexy lady, but it's like, I can be both things. And
beautiful.
And I love that in shooting this, I picked a very weird timing because I had not been able to work out, go to the gym, do any of this physical activity. I was in such a bad flare up all summer. And I'm like, this is so fascinating. Why am I doing this now? And then it just all makes sense because I can. And so I'm going to do it now because I can do it, because in return, someone else is going to see this and think, this is normal. This is fine that I feel like this sometimes. And that's also me. I am also that woman. That's also a side of me. We are forever changing and growing and in what we're doing. So I just think that when I go with the flow and I don't think about it, these projects, they just, they come out of me in such a way that it's just coming up and out. And sometimes I don't even know where it's coming from, but I just let it flow out of me because it just in return is there to help people.
Mm.
And they're such short little things. I showed my dad. He's like, oh my God. He's like, yes. But because it's a short little 5-minute film. And it just leaves you with so much to think about. It's so fun to make too.
I'm so excited. I saw the still images that I made the connection were likely teaser clips to show the range for the sardine film, and I'm very, very excited. How do you drop into, because you have a spectrum of characters that you have been, what is your creative process for dropping into a character, and do you ever have to do any type of decompression ritual to transition back into yourself?
Yes, I love, I know I've heard a few other actors talk about this, but I really do believe that when you find a character and you find a role, there's a part of it inside of you. And I recently, my acting coach, Rebecca Wiggins, who I've worked with previously, she is just really about making that connection of your own self to this person. It's daring because sometimes with some of the characters that I've played, you maybe don't want to go there, but it's so healing, and you have to go there and you have to connect it with a moment in your life of having these types of feelings, because we all have. They say too, sometimes that actors are really healthy people because we do allow ourselves to be all these different people, because all these different people live inside of us. And I feel like every time I am a changed person a little bit, like I'm still there and I am myself, but every time, there's something new there. I did this play in New York City, Female Transport, and I honestly can say that I was so in character. I grew out all of my body hair, which that's a whole other topic we could go off on. But in that character, in early 2000, like I had grown out all my hair, which was not very socially acceptable for this role. And I went there and I honestly was so in character. I just remember it being the first time that I was just like, oh my God, that was just so amazing. I don't even remember performing an entire play on stage. There's just something. And then I also do go through these moments and I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why? I'm like, oh, fuck, I've like missed out on so much of my own life because I'm like being someone else. Because it's kind of like a weird thing, but honestly, all of this is inside of us. And I can go there easily. Set of sardine, my sister-in-law was like, shit, like I saw you shift. She goes, you went somewhere. And I just love it. I just have this weird, I can just drop into these people and I find these small connections. In Sardine, my character is Henrietta, and which means ruler of the house. And I connected a lot of my own, life into this character that I created. But yeah, like Small Town Remedies, that character was so close to, it was a very different person and I was a very different person in it, but it was so close to home with my alcohol addiction that I actually, the night after I shot one of the scenes, my son, who is in it, but had not shot the scene yet with him. And at the time he was 5, and the scene was so real to me the night before we were supposed to shoot his scene that I like called the director the next morning, was like, I can't have my son in this film. It's just, it doesn't feel right. That was so like I was just like, that was so wrong. Like, I can't believe, like, it was honestly like, I can't believe I'm doing that. Like, but like the character did this, like, it was such a weird thing. And then I came down from it. I like went on a walk and I like came out of it and I was like, we had a call out for a kid in Denver. We couldn't find an actor last minute. And then I came around and I was like, okay, no, it's okay. This is just a movie.
Wow. Yeah.
Like he needs to be in it. This scene is so important. I really find connections in my real life. And honestly, that film would have been my life if I had not quit drinking. I would have lost my children. And that's how severe it was for me. And so it's like, I like going to these places. I don't know. I feel I love releasing things out of my body that are kept in there and clearing way for new experiences and dealing with things and healing. And yeah, I think it's fun. And I have my goofy characters too, because I get so like dramatic, I feel like, but a lot of my work comes through that way. But I have a lot of, in the past, I had my character Ginger B. Brown. She was a church lady that danced. That was an old character that I had for a while that I made up. And of course I had my Karen, who was, she was just that I should bring her back, because she would just stand in like the window and complain about like people not bringing their trash bins in, but like that like is real, like that type of stuff. And I was like, okay, we don't want to make fun of all these Karens. I know some freaking cool Karens, but I don't know. I've always been that. My dad, he asked my kids, he's like, what's it like having a mom with split personality? And that's why too. Yeah. That's why too. Like with my Andrea Woodley, I'm like, guys, like, that's not me. That's me. It's another character. It's another character I play.
But
I
how
think
cool.
people, yeah.
Well, because it's something that, I mean, there's a school of thought that I'm familiar with that's about the 88 keys of being a woman, and that you can be the raging, just the angry woman. You can be the sensual woman. You can be the soft woman. You can be the manic, shit is hitting the fan woman. It's the full spectrum. And that's what it is to be alive. So I love the, what does it feel like to have a mother that has all these personalities? But don't we all?
Well, and like, I don't know have you ever seen it was just a reel I made, but I'm the woman and the man, and I'm dancing and I have a cowboy hat, and it's what is the song? Oh, it's a Sophie Tucker song.
Oh, we just saw
I'll
her
look
last
back.
week.
I think it's still on my Instagram, but I'll look back and I'll send it to you. But it is funny because I came down as this guy and I was upstairs and I got all into character and I had this suit and I came down and my boys were like, is that mom? They're like, is it mom? I can't tell. And I had a mustache on and it was so funny. I just drop in. And I joke that like I have any experiences I go through and I like watch other people's lives and their acting and what they're doing and what is going on and how they deal with things and different stuff. And then I just keep it in like my head. I just keep don't even know what's there, but I have little compartments in my head and I just like pull from that for certain things and then connect it to your own life. Because honestly, you can connect even if something seems completely off that someone else is going through, that I'm like, there's no way. And I agree. There is no way that I could ever fully understand some of these traumas that someone has had, that I have not experienced. So I'm not here to say that that is possible, but I have had trauma in my life, and that trauma is in a way very real. I mean, it is the worst trauma I have experienced. And so if you go from that place, you can go to that. And also, and I've said it before too, like people are always like, oh my God, like, something so bad happens to someone. Oh my gosh, I cannot imagine what that would be like. I cannot imagine what it would be like to go through that. I don't know what it would be like. But the truth is, as human beings, we can imagine what it would be like. I am, as you can tell, I do love like believing that we've had past lives, and sometimes you don't know why you connect something or why you're so upset about something. But I honestly believe it could just be because maybe something like that did happen to you. Maybe you did that to somebody. Maybe it's right there, but we can, as human beings, unfortunately, imagine what all of these things would be like because we all know what trauma is. And so it's just a matter of allowing yourself to go there and also keeping yourself safe and healthy as an actor to make sure that you don't dip into any of those like very low low places that you do go. But yeah, it's so fun. It's just so fun.
What about for your ridiculous, fun, just your comedy characters? What compartment of your brain do you pull them out of?
My ass. Oh my God. I should have thought I was like, going into this, I'll think for a minute before answering questions. Like, get myself in trouble. I believe that, and actually Tina Mobina is going to be at Coronado Island Film Festival, and we're going to be talking about comedy and film and how we use comedy to deal with things. And really, I believe that if we can laugh at ourselves and we can laugh at each other and we can realize that, like, what the fuck are we really, what are we all doing here? This is so funny. Like, we're all on this planet together. I feel like half the time people forget, that we're so invested in these other things. So it's just, I like body movement and yeah, facial features and this type of stuff. I really love bringing comedy back into, and sometimes it's like inappropriate in situations, but I love bringing comedy back into things that feel so heavy, because we have to laugh. We have to laugh at each other, because we all have done the things. We've all done stupid things. We all go through hardships. We all have all of this stuff in common. And so if we can all laugh about stuff together, it's really the only way. I got to be I'm just a like featured background on the film Welcome to the Fishbowl that was shot in Denver, but I'm now friends with Jeremy Swift from Ted Lasso.
Okay, nice.
And I was like, cracked a joke at him. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble. I was like, can I take a picture of you in that robe to sell to TMZ? I need to fund my next indie film project. and he was cracking up, but I'm like, some of my jokes, I'm like, oh, maybe that wasn't but he and I now have plans to work on something. And speaking of comedy, I mean, he is a comedic genius, and just everything he does, he just has that ability. But yeah, so he just shot a film in Denver, Welcome to the Fishbowl, that I'll give a little shout out to that I've been supporting for a long time. And the director, Cheryl Glubach, my friend of mine, we have to laugh about this stuff. Have you ever heard that they think, like, before we come to Earth, like, do you want to go and experience, imagine if you were asked, like, do you want to go experience love and hate and anger and sadness and pain and excitement? And do you want to know what it feels like to, be scared? And do you want to, just all of these emotions we have? Like, if you really just remove yourself and think about that. And yeah, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. There's scary things that happen in this world. There are very terrifying things. I get it. But like, come in and look at it in a way of like, we as a human being, like, get to experience all of that. We get to know what all of that feels like. Mm-hmm. It's very wild. It's like it's a very complex, but it just kind of in a way like takes the edge off, I guess you could say. And then just, bringing that into the fact of with my work, we are all part of the earth and the plants and the trees, and we need to be getting outside. Even myself, I need to go ground myself more. Like, being in nature, being out with our friends and laughing, and not just sitting around and focusing on all the negativity in the world can really just help. We can help each other in our small groups, our small community, heal. But I think that that's where I've always been like, I want to help people. I've always had that in me. Like, I look at these terrible things and I want to go I want to go and save everybody, and I can't. And you can make yourself sick if you try to go to that extreme. But what you can do might seem super small, but it's it's going to have a big impact on a few people around you that then in return will go put that into the world. And I get it. This is nothing new, but I feel like once you realize that, you can give yourself a break and realize that, you know, what you're doing is making a difference in the world and is impacting people. So just keep doing that. And as long as you go from your heart and you are genuine in your actions, everyone is going to feel it. Yeah.
It's so true. Well, Andrea, this has been fantastic. How can people follow your work, or how can they get involved or see some of your upcoming work?
So a lot of my work right now is still in the film festival circuit. My newest film, eventually these will all be they'll be available through links. We would love, you know, people to support this and get involved, and realizing that the work that we are doing, it is more than just, you know, it's more than just us wanting to be making things. There's so much behind it. And like Tina Bobina, people have to see this film. It will help people. It will truly just make people think. So get involved. Go to my Instagram page, Andrea Dratch. There's links to Tina Bobina, my director, Jess, to help support that project. I will be soon running a crowdfund for our film Sense of Direction. We have some exciting news that will be coming from that. My performance art films and any performance art work that I'm doing, reach out to me. I'm also very open to collaborations and ideas. And if there's anyone out there that is just, they have this in them where they feel creative, they feel like they don't belong, or they don't feel normal, they feel different than everybody else, just like reach out, find me or find other people, and just get the ball rolling and truly find people and create with them. But yeah, so best way right now is like probably just through my social media to reach me. And yeah, also Google me. That, you know, that helps my Google Andrea Dratch.
When you wrote that in the specific. Yeah, I love that. Yes, because I say the same thing all the time. I'm like, just Google me. Like, just if you're unsure if I'm the real thing, just Google my name. You're going to find some stuff from Peaky Blinders and Weird Rings. That's what you're going to get. I didn't even know, I found when I Googled myself that someone, I can't think of the website now, had taken, this is hilarious. They had taken all of my feet pictures from my Instagram, my feet, off of just like I didn't purposely take pictures of my feet. Like, it was just my feet were in the, and it was on a celebrity foot fetish website. I mean, that's so put that on your rap sheet. I think that's obviously going to get some people to Google me. You must be doing something right. I really want to know what your left big toe looks like now. I mean, look at my feet, dude. Okay, I never would have thought my feet would make it. Everyone's like, you've made it. I'm like, I don't know. This doesn't seem right. They've made it. They've made it. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Andrea, for your creativity and being the just enigma that you are. I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for having me on.
Holy cow, you made it to the end. Nice work. If you love this, let us know. The biggest way you can pay it forward is taking the next 45 seconds and writing our show a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Your feedback is the lifeblood of our show. And if you're sick and tired of hiring the one-off photo video production company, the next best social media manager, or frivolously throwing money at marketing just chasing more likes, then it's time for us to have a conversation. We specialize in strategic content campaigns that generate more qualified leads to make your small or mid-sized business more money. Get a full-fledged media department for a fraction of the cost of an in-house creative director. Email heyruby@rubyriotcreatives.com to get started. Until next time, live a life with stories worth telling.